today I'm going to hit some target practice. I like to bust out the rifle as often as possible. This is the SCAR 16S, and I've got 223 ammo that I'm going to be shooting today. It's a little bit cheaper than the 5.56 that this can also shoot. As you can see here, SCAR, built in America, South Carolina. So I'm going to load up a magazine, take this out with me, and then I also have my handgun as well. So wherever legal and wherever possible, I do like to carry around my 9mm, especially when you're out in the woods. Here in Michigan, we're pretty safe, but like if you're out in Montana or like I was in Colorado and I came across a black bear, I did have bear spray, which is probably a better defense with a bear. However, it's always really good to have your handgun. And as I was discussing in my last video, if you're ever in a time where you needed to hunt, it's really good to have a long range rifle. You're not really gonna hunt with a 9mm, and you can if you need to, but a rifle is definitely going to be the move. I know what you're thinking. Isn't it a little bit overkill to have a SCAR 16S as your rifle? And the answer is absolutely. Yeah. The SCAR is an amazing gun. I love it. It's just like the most accurate, powerful gun I've ever owned. With that being said, I was raised in a military family, so I know guns are very triggering for a lot of people. So hopefully I can show you some safety measures that can put your mind at ease and also share with you some statistics. So I actually went through the concealed carry process, and one of the shocking things that I learned is that people with a concealed carry are actually the safest individuals in society. And that's measured by like traffic stops, traffic tickets, every single crime metric, whether it's domestic violence or gun violence. I was actually pretty mind blown when I heard that, because obviously you think about guns, you think about violence, you think people who have guns are violent. And yes, that may be true, but it's people illegally obtaining firearms or illegally using those firearms. They're the ones that are committing the crimes. The people who are safely obtaining these firearms legally through the state and getting a background check, just like anybody who purchases a rifle or a handgun, are the safest people in society. Very interesting stat. I would have not thought that. So anyway, here is my 1911.
Wow.
But it's a lucky thing I had my pieces.
Your pieces?
My gun.
Oh. Nice.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bah,
Wow.
bah. Well, I don't see so good, so I missed.
So I always like to check, make sure the gun is not loaded whenever you're transporting it. Obviously, if I'm out in the property, out in the woods, I'm going to load a clip into the gun and obviously keep the safety on. It has a standard safety up here, and it has a palm or thumb safety, so you have to engage that in order for it to fire. So it's got two safeties, so ultimately I love this. It's very safe. So I'm gonna load that in here. I'm just gonna shoot one mag each. Keep it nice and light today. But yeah, if you're gonna own a firearm, you definitely want to be practicing as much as possible, just so you're always comfortable with your weapon and you're responsible with it. That's the key. Since I'm gonna be slinging my rifle, I am not gonna load this until I actually get to my firing position, just for added safety. Really no need to be walking around with a loaded SCAR. I want to be clear, in an ideal world, it'd be beautiful if we didn't need guns. It'd be beautiful if there was no violence, if there was no crime. Obviously, we all dream of that. We all want that. If you're a student of history, it is pretty obvious that that's just not the case, at least yet. Now, I found it fascinating ever since the days of the samurai, actually. Governments have been taking away weapons from the people. They've been disarming the people. Why is that a problem? Well, when you disarm the people and the government is the ones protecting the people, then the people become dependent on the government, A. Then what tends to happen historically is that the people that do have the weapons or do have the power and the authority tend to abuse that every single time. You can look back, like I said, to the samurai, to the Romans, to the British Empire. They've all sought to take away weapons from the people so that they can overpower the will of the people. And this is just my opinion, so you can disagree. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I'll explain why I think that is historically not the right direction to go. Now, if you look at American history, for example, let's narrow in there. It's a very complex history. I'm not going to try to oversimplify it. However, there is something that is a fact. That is some of the events that occurred during the foundation of this country. Again, there's a lot of messed up stuff that happened in the foundation of this country that I'm not ever gonna try to condone or support, but one of the things that the founding fathers did get right, and the founding societies, actually my ancestors, I had multiple ancestors fight in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. So my family has been in America since before America was even a country a few hundred years ago. So without guns, many of the freedoms and many of the luxuries that we have today just might not be the same. They might not even be possible. We might still be living under a king or a dictatorship or an authoritarian regime. So if you really look back at it, the founding fathers and mothers of this country were really rebellious individuals. They stood up to centralized power and they created a new system. And I think that's a chapter of human history that should be celebrated. I know there's a lot of complexities and I know there's a lot of aspects to our country's foundation when it comes to Native Americans, when it comes to slavery, that are really disgusting. But at the end of the day, there have been people that have been fighting for individual freedom, and we've gotten to this point where we're at today, just a couple hundred years post-slavery, post-Civil War, and we are a nation that has the ability to be self-governed or locally governed. We have the ability to have arms, to have freedom of speech. And I've traveled to many different places all over the world, and I can honestly say that is not available everywhere. There are a lot of places where you can't speak your mind, you can't defend yourself, you can't be self-governed. So I have a certain gratitude for living in America, and I think part of that gratitude personally, again, you can disagree with me, that's all right. I still love you at the end of the day. But personally, that's why I believe upholding some of the constitutional rights that we have are very important, because sure, we may live in a time where you could easily say that, ah man, we don't need our guns, we can give those up. But historically speaking, if you're a student of history, you can look back on history and see that every time human beings have made that mistake, it's backfired. The more power we give to governance outside of ourselves, the more problems happen. Governance and power, it's man-made, it's artificial, and it is easily corruptible. Only way that we can maintain freedom, in my opinion, the only way that we can maintain sovereigns and self-governance is if we protect ourselves. I believe a big part of, I know one of the common arguments against the Second Amendment or against people carrying their own weapons or having their own weapons legally is the violence that we're seeing in this country. Again, historically, if you look back, we've had guns since the beginning of this country. A lot of the violence we're seeing is really new, and I think it's primarily due to mental health. Sure, there are things that we can do to increase maybe some background checks, make it a little more rigorous for people. Personally, my belief is that if you're gonna get in a car, you can't just start driving it at 18, you gotta go, or 16, you gotta go through some course to make sure you're safe, because that car's dangerous. Driving can be dangerous. I grew up in a military family. I had my dad and my family members rigorously teach me how to safely handle firearms. So I believe that's important for anybody. Anybody who's gonna handle a firearm should have to go through some process, whether it be through family or whether it be through your community. I don't necessarily think that that needs to come from the government and you being in their system. I think it's a slippery slope. But let me know what you think in the comments. I know today this seems to be getting more and more controversial, but I love having open discussions, and I don't think anybody should be canceled or judged depending on their beliefs on things like this. I think we should discuss it. I think it should be an open conversation, no judgment attached. All right, today got a couple prime cans I'm gonna be using as my targets. Let's say right there. All right, I'm just gonna shoot a couple rounds just to work on my target practice. All right, I'm gonna start out with the SCAR. So first things first, I was always taught you never point the barrel at anyone, even if the gun is unloaded. You're always keeping it downrange, point it up or point it any way away from anyone. Never point it at anyone. Super important, #1 rule. Also, don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. You keep your safety on until you're ready to fire as well. All right, so I'm ready to fire. I'm gonna engage my safety. Gonna shoot a couple rounds off target, and then I'm gonna go for the prime. Now it's time to hit that prime. Put the safety on, gonna set it, like I said, barrel never facing you. got a couple more shots on the scar, so I'm gonna try to redeem myself and get this one in focus. I had to come back down to the warehouse. I actually picked up a gig with, I'm gonna be filming with Peyton Thorne again this weekend down in Chicago. So for now, I'm back in Grand Rapids here at our home base HQ. I'm gonna check in on Zach. There he is.
You weren't kidding when you said you were whipping down here.
Oh, of course. Real quick. What up, what up?
Rob, nice to meet you, man.
Professional handshake, there we go. All right, respect, respect. Rob, nice to meet you. The new guy. So you found us through the vlogs, I'm guessing, or how'd you find us?
Yeah, I saw the one where you showed the warehouse, I think just like out of the blue at night. Sent you guys an email, found, I think, Zach's email, and yeah, sent you guys an email. I'm stoked to have a chance to work with you guys, man.
Respect, dude, it's good to have you here.
Absolutely.
So Zach's got you helping with Vybes fulfillment, right?
Yup.
All right.
And then he's getting me in a little bit into cold calling and sending some emails to some companies. So
there we go. Respect.
He's from Otsego.
Uh-oh, he's from our rival school.
Otsego, man.
Oh, snap. Now, we're beyond that now. Are you a Michigan or Michigan State fan?
Michigan State fan.
There we go.
Yeah.
Respect.
I saw Zach had the, he's wearing the basic blue over there.
Yeah, Zach's the only Michigan fan out here. Now we got two. Let's go. All right, respect. So how's it been so far? What you been learning?
Still getting the hold of it. I mean, it's taking me, I'm having to ask, what's this, what's that, what's this? So
yeah,
take me a little bit to get used to, but picking it up.
Picking it up. You're here at a good time because I think this summer, this fall is about to get pretty busy in here.
I know, man. I'm stoked. Excited.
It's gonna start ramping up. So, well, it's good to have you, man. Nice to meet you. All right, so how are things going?
Good, man. Last minute Friday fulfillment.
So we got a pretty big meeting coming up on Tuesday, huh?
Yes, we do. We're trying to book the big boy clients.
So we got to keep that hush hush. But yeah, we're in chats right now, and we got a client that would basically it would require a lot of space, and yeah, it's gonna get interesting.
We got the space.
But we've been manifesting this. We've been calling it in. Yep. All right. Any plans for the weekend? Anything crazy going on?
No, bartending company has a couple events that my wife is womaning.
Ah, the old ball and chain.
Yup. So she's gonna go crush those. I'm going to pick up the pup from doggy school, and we chilling because I just did back-to-back 17-hour days, so I'm dead.
Yeah, you've been going hard.
I'm actually not alive.
You're a corpse right now.
I'm a corpse.
You look like Joe Biden.
I am Joe Biden.
Don't get on a bicycle. All right, before I dip, I gotta get shredded, so I'm gonna do that.